Welcome everyone to today's podcast. And oh my goodness, you are going to absolutely enjoy today's episode as I did when I met this lovely lady at the AGE in August this year in Sydney and heard her speaking about her journey as a woman in leadership in the hospitality industry. It was so interesting. I thought, right, I've got to get Danielle onto the podcast as we've had so many wonderful guests, but more than just about what she's achieved, but also being a woman and coming from a family in a male-dominated industry, it's what she's done and what she continues to do that I really want to shine the light on her today. So Danielle Richardson is a joint director of the Laundy Hotel Group. Danielle is a fourth generation leader in Australian hospitality and serves as joint director of Laundy Hotel Group. She is the daughter of Arthur Laundy and has deep roots in the family's business. Yet she also brings significant external experience to her role. Before joining the Laundy Hotels, Danielle worked in beverages companies such as Campari, Carlton and United Breweries, and Coca-Cola Amatil, which gave her broad exposure to broad strategy, operations, and customer insights. Danielle has been a driving force in modernising Laundy's hotel operations and elevating its service standards. Her leadership was critical in the $3 million transformation of the Watsons Bay Hotel's top and mid decks, and that was one of my very locals during the 80s. I love that pub and still go back to it today. It's if you've ever been to Sydney, it is an absolute icon, reshaping the harbourfront venue, which it is, into this versatile, elevated event space that maintains its coastal charm. She also played a key role in the redevelopment of the Log Cabin Hotel, which is another one of my locals, because it's halfway between some of my family and myself. It's a beautiful space, which is based in Penrith, focusing on design, community connection, and a guest-centric destination-led hospitality model. Under her guidance, the group has pursued digital innovation, talent development, and long-term sustainability, positioning Laundy Hotels for continued growth in a rapidly evolving market. So welcome, Danielle. It's so lovely to have you on my podcast today.
Thank you, Michelle. You make me sound amazing. You can introduce me any day of the week.
Well, you are, and I just think it's lovely to have shining lights on people in the industry that have made it their own and continue to develop others. Because to me, that's what it's so important, isn't it, with our industry and developing it, and for the many decades it has to come.
Absolutely. I think it's such an exciting industry to be a part of,
Yes.
and I'm so privileged and lucky to have grown up in it, but also to be able to come back to it sort of as a final destination. I don't think I'm going anywhere career wise after this coming back into the family business, but yeah, where anyone that does have the opportunity to work in hospitality, without a doubt, it's one of the most dynamic and exciting industries I think that you can be a part of.
Yeah. And I think there's another reason why I really wanted to interview you is that so many people still see it as that transient job, come in, I'm at uni, or it's a second job while I'm saving for a trip or a car or whatever it might be. But showing them that there is, particularly the Gen Zs, that is this amazing opportunity. Like, it is just a wealth of different aspects that you can go into to make it a real career, and you just don't know where you're going to land. So even though they may be picking up glasses or cleaning ashtrays or sharpening those Keno pencils at the moment, there is so much more in front of them, isn't there?
And how much hospitality gives to, I guess, the younger generation coming in from a social perspective, social skills, having to talk to people, ask people how their meals were and understand and interact. It's got so much to offer, not only from a career perspective, because it absolutely is. You can really see people coming into it now as a career. A lot enter it not realizing that they are actually going to make it a career. They come in that transitional phase when they're either studying or thinking about what it is they want to do, and they fall in love with it. And it's really nice to see that, the young ones coming in and taking it in their stride, I guess, and going, wow, this is what I want to do. Because it's not just, as you say, you start by picking up, plates and glasses, and they're the fundamentals. They're the absolute, where you should start. But the opportunity to move into events, we're evolving so quickly within hospitality with the food and beverage offering. You've got so many different offerings now, and career path opportunities.
Yes.
Bigger groups. We've got a HR team, we have a marketing team, we have a IT finance team, we have systems teams. Like, you
Yes.
don't even realize how much sits behind hospitality in that back of house, which is a career opportunity as much as it is in the front of house.
Yes, yeah. And it's so true because people just see it from the forward facing, from when they're a customer. It's just that person behind the bar, but it is the massive juggernaut behind it that brings that to the forefront. And it's also, you made a really good point about how they need to communicate with people, and we're seeing that more and more often in the industry now, that they're just going, well, how do I start these conversations? Because they're so used to, using these things and connecting with wonderful social groups around the world, but actually having to, yeah, talk to people, but also tolerate people that may have different beliefs and different values. They may be great early in the morning, but they're not so great a patron late at night. And so how do they handle it? And I think, even if they don't make it a career in hospitality, it certainly sets them up for a great foundation to any industry. Would you agree? Yeah.
Absolutely. And also the one that is harder and harder is the conflict resolution. I think
Yes.
that in itself is also a skill that they have to work out on the spot how to resolve something in the most peaceful way that you can possibly do it.
Yes.
And when people are unhappy, they're very, very quick to tell you these days.
Yes.
And you need to, and it builds a lot of um what's the word I'm thinking? Resilience.
Resilience. Yes. Yes. Yes.
A resolution, but it builds resilience in the younger, because you have to learn how to deal with these situations,
Yes.
and they come up a lot, trust me.
Yes, yeah, because you're dealing with real living people. Now, obviously, your family, they've been in this industry for many, many decades. And so they've seen the industry grow, but also how things have had to have changed. And even though you've grown up in this, very well known and respected, hospitality family here in Australia, you forged your own pathway, first in that corporate world. So can you just give us share a little bit of your insights on what did that journey teach you? And how has it shaped your leadership now that you're back in the family fold, so to speak, with the Laundy Hotel Group?
I think it's actually really important to say that I did start in hospitality, because growing up I was that person that went in as the transitional. So I worked in the bars, and all my way through uni I was very much in bottle shops and bars and customer service.
Mm.
So that grounding's always been there. But yes, I did choose to forge my own path into the corporate world, which the family's incredibly supportive of, which is
Yes.
lovely. There was never any pressure to just come into the family business. But that journey, I guess it taught me other people's perspectives. I got to witness and have a look at the way other businesses ran.
Yes.
I got to learn a lot from some amazing people, and I think the journey on within the corporate world is actually quite different to what a small to medium business, family business is.
Yes.
So I guess my background is marketing. So I was in marketing in the corporate world, and I was on the supplier side. So I was lucky enough to still be close to the industry and
Yes.
see how it all worked.
Mm.
But learning about people, teams, culture, how to work within a team, how to lead a team eventually, I had to obviously forge my way through. But the skills that came with interacting, with people and learning about different cultures and what I thought worked and what I thought didn't work, and how leaders were, and which ones I admired and which ones I thought, okay, maybe I won't take
Yes.
that advice, was a good part. And then I guess from a marketing perspective, I learned all about brand positioning, about connection with people, with customers, the experience of a brand with a customer.
Mm.
And that's very much shaped my thinking as I've come into the business on the type of leader that I want to be, but also how can I apply that to a pub? And, as we look at a pub now, we look at it as, where does it sit within the community?
Mm.
What is it that the community are looking for? And how can our pub actually be that brand and that offer and that experience for them?
Mm. So thank you so much for sharing about that as you said, that basis from a family, but having that opportunity to go into the corporate world and learn from them and bring out your strengths. And I loved how you said, there were some leaders, Danielle, that yeah, maybe I won't take back that advice. And that's what we have to develop is our own leadership style. So what values from those early days have stayed with you, and how do they inform the way that you lead and modernize the business today? Because it's certainly a very different business now to what it was, a number of decades ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think the first and foremost that, I've learnt very much from my family and my upbringing
Mm,
is that you need to respect and connect with people. It's
mm.
always about people. So
Yeah.
we always put people first, whether that be our customer, whether that be our staff, our team. That's something that I guess my mum and dad taught and throughout, my journey. So that's my first value that I will always put first.
Mm.
Um, Honesty, partnerships, the strength of partnerships and loyalty. I've learnt through my career and absolutely seen that you just can't go wrong if you are always upfront, if you are honest, and if you are strong in what you do with your partners, be it suppliers, be it, in current world now,
Yes.
very loyal to anyone that we commit to, because we don't believe at Laundy Hotels that we will succeed unless our partner succeeds with us. So we do have a really, really strong relationship with most of our suppliers, with our staff, with our customers. We'll walk in, my dad will walk into a pub and he will say hello to everybody on his way through. He
Yes.
wants to know how their meals are, how their food are. That has been one of the key values that I think we put through the whole business. So not only myself in the leadership, but everybody knows in our team
Mm.
that if you walk into a pub and you see an empty glass or you see someone, you greet them and you say hello, and
Mm.
and engaging with them. I think those values are absolutely key in probably any business that
Yes.
you're running, but certainly what I've learned through my upbringing and through my career.
Mm. And it's such an important value is to connect with the people, as you said, not only your customers, but for your team. You can't do every job 365 days a year. You need this team, and they are reflecting the vision that you have, but also your values, and they model them. We look at our leaders today, and I know when I'm training teams, I say to the leadership teams, your behavior is being modeled by your team. So where you said, with your father walking into the pub, saying hello to people, picking up that glass, the teams see that and they go, well, it just becomes a natural part of their behavior as well. Because
Absolutely.
they're seeing the leadership team do that. And it's just such a beautiful value that connects with people because people feel like they're being seen and valued and cared for.
Very much. And our customers often comment on it.
Yes.
They often have feedback on, wow. And a lot of them don't know Dad when
Yes.
when he first walks
Mm.
in and he goes up and talks to them. But the feedback and the response from a customer and the connection that you get
Yes.
is quite incredible. And it's definitely traditional hospitality.
Yes.
And that is what we need to, as you say, as we modernize and as we move through into the new world of hospitality, it absolutely is.
Mm.
You can't lose that core value of
Yes.
your connection with your customer. And that is something that we try and, multiply through our teams.
Yeah.
Don't lose that sight of the fact that these people are the most important people in our world,
Yes.
because keeping them happy and
Mm.
making them feel good or special is essentially, no matter what you are doing in your role, that is essentially the objective that
Yes.
you're trying to achieve.
Yes, yeah. It must be lovely for your dad to walk through, or even yourself sometimes, and go up to a customer and just hear from them not knowing who you are, and really having that raw conversation of how much they're enjoying the place, and that little bit of probably that inside of you, that little bit of joy going, that's exactly how we wanted you to see it, or that's exactly how we wanted you to feel. Do you ever have that?
That is exact.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you say that, because when we first renovated the Red Lion, my husband and I that was our first foray into the pub
Right.
world, and that exact reaction happened for me, because nobody knows who I am, and I'm
Yes.
just, how's your meal? What do you think?
Yeah.
And ask the questions, and so many positive responses, and you inside going, yay, thank goodness,
And I'm not just saying it because, I own the place or, we're part of the family.
That's right.
We're
They're
saying it as genuine customers, yes, which I think
genuinely feeling that, and when you make your local community happy,
yes.
that's just a really nice feeling.
Yeah, it's just that little bit of icing on the cake, which I
Yeah,
think perhaps even those days where you think, oh my gosh, is it all worth it all? Something's happening. You can think back to those highlights and go, this is why we're doing it. It's for
yeah,
those that are still
absolutely.
there.
And don't worry, those days occur.
I think they are, at all times. But I think when you can see through it and see the joy that you bring, that's what makes the difference. And it's bringing not just that happiness to that person, but for those that are around them as well. And that's what about being part of a community is. It's just key, isn't it, in knowing
It
that they
is.
can gather there. Mm.
Very much. And our pubs are a lot of communities' lounge rooms.
Yes, yes.
That is where everybody goes to meet, to socialize, to connect, and that's only becoming stronger and stronger, which is really good. Like, we
Yes.
love that we can provide that offering for our local community, that
Mm.
they can connect and come and all meet and have a great time.
Yeah. And I think the
And with
thing,
the music, and they've
yes.
got great music and entertainment, and we really, I guess, as a industry, we've stepped up our
Mm.
offer. We
Yes.
provide great food, we provide great beverage and great entertainment,
Mm.
and it's all there for them to just come and enjoy whenever they can.
Yeah. And for all age groups. So, as I said, I go to the log cabin, quite often because it's halfway between family that live up in the mountains and to where we are here in the Southern Highlands. And, you've got your outdoor areas, you've got your fun areas downstairs, and then we go to the beautiful restaurant upstairs, and so we dine there on a
Yeah.
regular occasion. And then, when we come back through, you can see just all the different styles of seating. And it's that family atmosphere. So if you want, you can be there with young children, or you can be just sitting there alone and you're safe and secure no matter who you are or what age group. And I think that's how pubs have changed over the years, haven't they? It's for everybody.
Yeah, and I think the exciting thing, I think, about pubs now too, is that they're using their space for all those different offerings.
Yes. Mm.
So I think, and that's, I guess, as you look at a pub, you start with operational, and you have a look at what it is that is needed and is going to work and is going to be most efficient, and how do you use your spaces in the best way.
Yes.
But that's to provide an offering to all these different people within your community.
Yes.
And as you say, most of the playgrounds in pubs these days, have you seen some of them? It's crazy.
I
Like
know.
out at the log cabin with the train, and
Yes.
just for the children to be able to climb and play, and you can sit in the beer garden and see them. As
Yes.
a
Yes.
parent,
Yes.
it's a delight.
Mm.
And you can, while you're watching them play, you can have a nice drink and you can have a great meal at
Yes.
a pretty affordable price. We're very
Yes.
accessible within pubs.
Mm.
Our quality is amazing. However, we are affordable for a family to go and have a meal, and the kids to have a play. And
Yes.
then, as you say, we're doing a lot of pubs, and we are particularly doing more restaurant offerings.
Mm.
So that slight tweak and step up in another part of the hotel.
Mm.
And at the same time, so the one you're referring to, Sinclair's,
Mm.
which again is the old owner's last name of the log cabin when it burnt down
Yes.
was
Yes.
Sinclair's. So we've named the restaurant after him. It's all locally sourced produce. It's got a real connection to the Nepean region.
Mm.
So we then have, if you want to not have a night out with the children and you want to go,
Yes.
without them, or they're not grown up, then you've got Sinclair's as an option, which we've just received a hat for.
Yeah.
And like, it's crazy the things that you can do now and experiment with, and keep pivoting and innovating to try and attract a different person to your pub that
Yes.
may not go there on other occasions.
Yeah. And it's putting in those offerings. And, it is taking a gamble, I'm sure, right at the start. Are we going to get the people to come in and utilize? But I just love it up there. I think it's a beautiful restaurant. You've got that outdoor and indoor seating. The service has always been impeccable. The food, the food is great quality. And so you don't mind paying when it's good quality. But then if you wanted something else, then you can go downstairs. And then you've got the event section as well. So it's really broadening what people perceive as just the local pub. Yes, you can still still got there as a community, but it can be so much more. When you think about your years of working in that corporate world with, Coca-Cola Amatil as well as Campari and Carlton United Breweries, what corporate insights have you brought back or practices did you bring into that family business? Because you've come from a family that's already well organized, very structured in the way, but you've come from that world, and as you said, looking at the branding and also the marketing. What have you now, and how do you believe that you're influencing the operations or guest experiences at Laundy Hotels?
So it's interesting. We can't say that I'm corporatizing because Dad's like, we're not corporatizing the business. So it's actually, you're right. It's taking the best of what I learnt in the corporate world,
Yes.
and how do I find that sweet spot between, family business and what they've done so well for so many years, and how can I add my little insights and values to that? And that's, I guess, the key of what I've been trying to do. And I think it comes back to overlaying that storytelling and that connection and that brand positioning for a pub. Traditionally, we would open a hotel, and if you look at Calderwood, we would have opened it as the Calderwood Hotel.
Mm.
We did a lot of research into the area and the depth of the heritage in dairy farming, and we called it the Plough and Ale.
Yes.
And we do country music nights, and we have a beautiful, robust menu that is, a country hearty menu.
Yeah.
So I guess my learnings from that brand positioning and that customer experience from my corporate side, I've overlaid. I think there's a lot of learnings with how we can work with suppliers. So
Mm.
because I was one, I know how you can interact and work with the supplier
Yes.
to leverage their brand,
Mm.
but to make the experience for your customer better. So how do you work together well and bring that in? I think the other interesting piece with corporate, which I do love, and I am a little bit systemized and processed, but what systems and technology can we use to make ourselves more efficient?
Mm.
And that's a big piece to, I guess, a family business that have always done it in a certain way.
Yes.
What are the opportunities for us to essentially free up people to serve people
Mm.
more? Because you
Yes.
want, from a front of house perspective, you want them on the floor, you want them behind the bar and interacting. So as pubs get bigger and bigger, the admin tasks become larger. So
Yeah.
from a systems and technology perspective, we very much had a look at how everything was done and where and how can we make this more efficient,
Mm.
so that we can free up the team to focus on customer experience.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, in my world, it was all about customer experience,
Yes.
what the offer is, how can we step it up and provide people with what it is they're looking for. How are we, what do our wine lists look like? Have we got a great offering if someone does want to step up and have a
Mm.
nicer wine on a night? Our cocktail lists. So everything within the customer journey, we had a look at. Is it easy to book with us?
Mm.
Can we get in simply? And then how do we use technology to make us more efficient, to then be able to provide a better customer experience?
Mm. It's quite interesting because, we're hearing all about AI. AI is like, the word of the moment. And a lot of hospitality people are going, oh, well, it's going to take away that connection with people. And I think, and I think what you've just touched on then, it's going to enhance what we do by putting in systems and procedures so that it allows us more time to be forward facing, to have those conversations with our customers, our members or guests, because we're not spending so much time with our eyes down looking at paper or filling out checklists or doing things, when somebody, the technology can take over in that part. So, you know how do you ever get pushback from people though that go, why are you wanting to bring this in? And I'm not just saying your family, even different managers that have perhaps worked in other places that haven't had these systems.
Uh, yes, I would say probably originally,
Mm.
because it's hard when someone's done it for a long time.
Yes.
It is very hard to try and, change the way
Mm.
people do things. People also, as you said before, people get worried that they'll lose their jobs or that they're
Yes.
going to
Yeah.
be,
Mm.
pushed out. That is absolutely not the case. So yes, in those instances, we did get a little bit of pushback on that. However, my approach is very much about trying to bring people on the journey and understand why and how that is actually going to make everything better.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I've got an 84-year-old father who
Mm.
has been forever in the industry and done it in what way. But he actually was probably one of the most encouraging
Yeah.
because he knows that we need to evolve
Mm.
with the world. He knows he can't do that part of it, the
Yes. Yeah.
digital and the AI, but he's so interested in it.
Mm.
So I engage and bring him into the meetings and take him through what it is that we're trying to do. He may not understand the technology in the back end, but as long as we explain the outcome and what it is
Yes.
as a business and how that is a better outcome for our business, then he's very empowering to say, yep, let's go
Yes.
that direction. We're trialing AI at the moment. It is answering of 4 of our hotels. It is answering the phone. We have an agent
Yes.
that is answering and taking reservations.
Mm.
Most people, when they do the reservation, we do tell them that it's an AI agent, but you can't tell. It's
Yes.
amazing. It
Yeah.
sounds like you're talking to a person.
Mm. Yeah.
That then frees up what I have. We have a central res team that frees up our central res team to be talking to people about events and
Yes.
the like the ability for us to service better
Mm.
because we have an agent that is taking bookings and just literally booking a table
Yes. Yeah.
is providing a better option now in our functions
Mm.
and events, and it can get you to a point where you can provide function and event packages and the like, all the administrative side,
Yes.
AI will look after that.
Mm.
And that is the future of our world. I think
Yes.
we have to absolutely adapt, but
Mm.
I do believe in hospitality, it does free up the staff
Mm.
to improve customer service.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And have those conversations and have those one-on-ones and listen to what the talking about and then coming up with ideas of how, what you could do for the event. And that is allowing them at that time, but as you said, still being supported by the tools of AI and the
Yes.
procedures and systems. We've talked about, you've touched on Calderwood as well as the log cabin. Let's just have a look at a moment at Watson's Bay Pub. Now, as I said right at the very start, it was my local during the 80s, living in the eastern suburbs, and it's always been an icon of Sydney. You've got the Harbour Bridge, you've got the ferries, you've got the Opera House, but then you've got the Watson's Bay Hotel. Everybody knows it's there. It's a place for fish and chips. It's a great place to pick up guys. Well, it was in the 80s. And it really, it is an essential icon. So when you came in and looked at that, knowing of its history and what it meant to Sydney siders and for people, coming in to visit, what was your vision? How did you put that together? Mm.
That's a really good question. It is such an icon. So it
Mm.
was a bit of a scary one doing the Watson's Bay. Are
Yeah.
we going to get this right? And definitely has been one of those, as you described before, where people are like, wow, are like, thank goodness.
Yes.
um, I think from a vision perspective, it has a beautiful positioning and it has an amazing history and connection with that local area. So none of that changed. We absolutely held true to what Watson's Bay is and what it stands for and its history. What we did was took that and just stepped it up slightly with our top deck renovation
Yes.
and provided a new version of it. So it was all about capitalizing on the position and where Watson's Bay is.
Yeah.
That view is probably one of the best views the pub will have in Australia.
Yes.
So how do we capitalize on that and make the offer of it's still Hampton style, it's still that coastal vintage feel, but step it up where we can have a space that someone will be proud to have their wedding in,
Yes.
and
Yes.
someone would be proud to bring visitors or local family and come and have a beautiful meal in.
Mm.
So it was really important that we held true to Watson's Bay as a pub and what it was, but we definitely know, with all of our assets,
Mm.
reinvesting in them is very important because we want to be proud of them and
Mm.
we want people to come and enjoy that space. And we just think it's one of the best spaces in Australia. So um, doing that was actually not as hard as
Yeah.
as I thought it was going to be because when when a pub has a beautiful positioning, then enhancing it is a real pleasure, to be
Yes,
honest.
yes, yes.
So we've done that, and we now have a beautiful space up there with a bar, and it's a great bar for the locals as well. You know, you've got
Yes.
a great community in the area who may not want to be in the beer garden and, you know, and outdoor with
Mm.
millions of people, and may want to just have a nicer, quieter. It's a bit of a quieter space where you can go up and have a lovely drink and still enjoy the views.
Yes.
Very much indoor, outdoor. We've got the windows open
Mm.
and connect you with the ocean. So it was, yeah, it's a great space to be.
Yes, yeah, it really is. But and I have been to a wedding there too, just a few short years ago. And once again, I thought to myself, oh, I hadn't really thought of it as that event space. But then going in there and just thinking, this is just beautiful. It's just really sets the scene because I'd only ever seen it from that hotel aspect. And as you said, on a Sunday, just relaxing, having a few probably a few too many drinks. But anyway, but yeah, having the event space, and it certainly has been an icon. And good for you for taking that on and just going. I want to enhance it, but still knowing how important it is not only to the blow-ins, but also to the locals. And there are a lot that live in that area that can walk there that don't have to worry about car parking.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so true.
Or get a ferry there. It's easy. Now, I want to focus a little bit on your actual personal journey now, Danielle. Hospitality has always been traditionally a very male-dominated industry, especially at that leadership level. What have been some of the challenges and opportunities you've encountered as a female leader, and how are you helping shape more inclusive leadership in the industry?
It was interesting coming in as a leader coming into the industry. I have been very fortunate, to be honest. I feel that while there are still biases, without a doubt,
Mm.
on whether you play golf or whether you
Yes.
want to go to a rugby game or the likes, they exist, but they're definitely on the downturn, I would say. I find that I've always been really open in chatting with our partners and our suppliers on what my experience has been. And I do believe that's been very helpful because I'm honest. I'll just say,
Yes.
look, I do play golf. So you can invite me to a golf day, or, it's amazing when you say that. They go, oh, wow, no one does it with intention, that no one intends to exclude.
Mm.
It's just opening people's minds
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
inclusion that is actually really key. So I'm very open and honest with my conversations about those experiences.
Mm.
And it is definitely changing, and people
Oh,
are really
yes.
wanting for it to change.
Mm.
Hospitality is a really challenging industry for females, particularly front of house,
Yeah.
because the hours are not conducive to having a family.
Mm.
So we have, obviously, when you've got to be at work is when we're busy, and there when you're meant to be at home, if you
Yes.
if you're as a mother with young children, with the children.
Yeah.
So I have also adapted a lot of uh, roles, I guess, as people's lives, circumstances change.
Mm.
The ability, and I think this is what we were talking to before, the great thing about the hospitality industry is that we are now a career, not
Mm.
just a front of house, go to work and come back again.
Yes.
So the opportunity to have a look at other avenues for those talented women that we would have lost
Yes.
previously
Mm.
out of the industry in other areas that are more conducive to what they need for their lifestyle
Mm.
has definitely been something in the forefront of everything that I've done. And there've been multiple occasions where, one of our GMs had a baby,
Yes.
and she can't go back into being a GM. So what can
Mm.
I find within the whole group that takes her skill set and we both benefit from it?
Yes.
And and so that there've been quite a few occasions that we've done that. We're blessed because I am lucky that I can do that, because we are a large enough group that I
Mm.
have different roles for people to maneuver people around and to do
Yes.
it. But I do think, as a female in leadership, it probably wouldn't cross, well, wouldn't have, I think it would now, but wouldn't have crossed, maybe a male's mind on trying to think of another way. It just,
Mm.
you would have lost that talent out of
Yep,
the
that's
industry.
it. Yes.
And and it is so important in hospitality that we have a beautiful blend of men and women,
Mm.
to bring that diversity of thought into
Yes.
everything
Mm.
and how we service. And you really do benefit if we can keep those talented women in the industry. So I'm quite dedicated to finding those solutions.
Yes, yeah. And it's so important because we go through different different journeys during our lifetime, both male and female. But as you rightly said, Danielle, for a number of ladies, they will, there'll be a time where they are looking after children, but there's also a time where they'll be looking after aging parents as well, and we're starting to see the impact of that now on people's roles. And so being able, as you're a large enough group, but it's not only that, Danielle, you're also thinking ahead of thinking, I don't want to lose that person's talent. How can we provide them an opportunity to go into another area, increase their skill set, but not losing that because it may be through, their own choice, number of years to come, they'll go, look, I'm ready to slot back into that role. And some of the, my clients that I've been with, for nearly 3 decades now, I've seen particularly women who've done that. They've come in, they've been on a part-time role, they've gone up to a general manager, they've gone off for different reasons into another, maybe a part-time role. And now, they've come back into, leading and being CEOs of larger, establishments. And you think it's all about a journey, and it's not just going, as you said in the past, well, oh, well, they're leaving and we lose that talent, then we've got to start it all over again. So it's benefiting both of you, both the organization as well as the person. And it's
Yes,
just,
absolutely. And it's even it's with men with young children.
yeah.
We've got some of our staff that I need to be flexible with their hours so
Mm.
that they can do school pickup a couple of days a week.
Yes. Yeah.
Working from home in hospitality is really hard
Yes.
because we
Yes.
are so customer facing. So that's a hard one to be flexible on. However, hours and moving and, because I see that talent and I don't want to lose it, I've got to work out a way that it works for both.
Yeah. Do you think this is having to be a very big mindset shift though with rosters? And I've seen that coming back out of COVID. Well, oh well, it was very much the employer was dictating all the rules because there was more employees or more people seeking jobs. And then these last few years, and we're still feeling in some circumstances, particularly in regional areas, that we're not getting the people into hospitality that we once were, that we have to start thinking, well, the rosters just can't be set. Not everybody wants to work every weekend.
Yeah.
And as you said, there are going to be some that are great workers, but then, well, why not just adjust the roster so they can drop their kids off to school or pick them up, no matter what their gender is? It's thinking outside of just, well, this is the way we've always done it. Have you felt that that has changed a lot, and you've been a driving force of that as well, understanding that there are different paths that people need to be on at different times?
Yeah, I think we now put a lot of accountability in our GM's hands
Mm.
and less strict on who is when and why, more on holding them accountable to a wage percentage.
Yes.
So
Yep.
often we'll say to them, absolutely no problem. As long as you're in the 20s in your wage percentages, you manage it accordingly.
Yes. Yeah.
Once it starts creeping up above that, then we will then start saying, well, hang on, it's got to work for both here
Mm.
and do it that way. One of my GMs, we had her, she went back to 3 days a week. And
Mm.
I said to her, which is really hard in a pub,
Yeah.
really hard for a GM,
Yes.
but we gave it a go. And
Mm.
I said to her, as long as customer service doesn't drop, the
Mm.
pub doesn't suffer,
Mm.
and because it has to be a win-win. You
Yes.
can't you can't
Yep.
just do it.
Running a business.
But that's where the conversations are rich, where you can say, here's the outcome that we want you to achieve. If you can do it within what you're suggesting, then absolutely go for it.
Yes, yeah. But I think it's also having an open employer's mindset that, okay, let's go, and both parties understanding we're trialing this. If it works, it'll be fantastic. It could be something that we can replicate. But if it doesn't, at least we've tried it and we've given it a go. But it has to be a win-win situation because you are running a business and you've got so many other people depending on you as well, all the rest of the team. But I think these conversations with staff would never have happened even 5 years ago. It's
Probably.
changing, and it constantly changes, which is wonderful. Not, yeah, as I said, not just women, but for all people that find themselves in a situation where they may need to just alter something slightly, but we don't want to lose them. There's no use throwing
Yes.
the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, is there? Which I think we've
No,
done too
exactly.
often. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, with this in this amazing industry. Well, it's a fast evolving landscape, and it always has been. How do you balance, honoring, the heritage of this fourth generation family business? That it's a big business that you've have and that you're involved in, and I think it's wonderful that there's your dad at 84, still being in the room and not only wanting to be in the room, but listening and understanding, but also perhaps being that word of a little bit of that advice in the back of your mind. Yeah, it's great to go down this way, but let's think about those traditions and how they can and be impacted and how can we bring them together. Even when you talked about that Calderwood pub, here you were saying, oh, well, we'll just call it the Calderwood Hotel. But then let's look at the tradition. Yes, it is full of dairy farms. It's in a beautiful aspect, down, it's it's halfway between where we are here in the Southern Highlands, and then going down and to the foreshores of Wollongong.
Yep.
It's that
Michelle
beauty.
Harbour.
Yeah, Shell Harbour. It's that beautiful space that you are surrounded by these farms, and so it's keeping that tradition there. Um, the question that I've got here is, with the need to be digitally innovative, customer focused, and future ready, how are you still honouring those traditions? I know we've touched on it a little bit, but going forward, and perhaps even as more discussing about what you've done there at Calderwood, how do you continue to do that as the world evolves so quickly?
So I think first and foremost, we don't forget about traditional
Mm.
forms of communication, because if you become too digital, then you're actually missing the customer that's in your pub every day,
Yes.
and talking to them and making sure that they're also aware of everything that you have to offer. So we have a really strong combination of how do we talk to people in venue,
Mm.
outside the venue, what's that journey, and how do we make sure that we're communicating with everybody so that you don't miss the customer that isn't in the digital world.
Yes. Mm.
So I guess for us, getting that balance right, but evolving at the same time, because from a digital perspective, you have to play in that world.
Yes.
That is where we're heading,
Mm.
and we need to work out how we maximize that and become most efficient with that in getting more people into our hotel.
Yes.
So it is a real balance,
Mm.
but as you say, working through that, I've had to learn so much. Like,
Mm.
whilst Dad at 84 is learning, I am learning
Yeah.
so much because it changes so quickly.
Mm.
So for me, I've really immersed myself this year into understanding the digital landscape, the
Mm.
social, the advertising, the campaigns, because a lot of our spend now is going there, and a lot of it's like, yep, it's working, and we're like, how?
Yes.
So from a commercial perspective, I'm very simple in ROI. Is it actually paying back? Is it the right thing for our business?
Yes.
Which is actually really hard to understand because it is a whole new language.
Mm.
But I guess for me, within our landscape, hospitality is evolving incredibly quickly. So we need to keep up. And I think everybody in our business knows and understands that.
Yeah.
And as long as we're taking them on that journey and teaching and educating and engaging,
Mm.
then that is the best outcome that we can do on balancing both traditional, because at the end of the day, it leads to better hospitality and customer service in the venue if you get
Yes.
the blend right.
Yes, yeah. I love that word educating, and that's so true because you do have to educate people on that journey, Danielle. I love looking at the different generational blocks and the differences that we have, and I speak a lot about Gen X in particular, who when they hear that word change, they deeply impacted by the GFC, not the last one, but the one before. And so when we're talking to them about change, they have that immediate reaction. Oh, yes, the last time I heard that, I lost my job, or this one, it's that negative, that bias comes straight in. So it is educating people. We, not only our customers when we make our changes, but educating our teams, because if we just give them a blanket, well, this is what we're doing, and they don't fully understand it, then they're the ones out there that will either white ant it with the other employees or make it a negative statement to our customers. So it is educating them to understand, to have that, now I understand, that aha moment, isn't it? It just takes that little bit of perhaps more conversation sometimes with others.
Yes. Speaking of, my son just walked in. He's like, "What are you doing, Mum?"
Now, I'll ask you then, will this be a fifth generation? Do you have your children? Are they old enough to work in
Yes.
pubs?
No, Molly and Charlie are the two grandchildren that are currently in the business.
Right.
We've had Sophie's been in. It's one of, and it's one of those businesses that we're very blessed to have. The children can come and go, and
Yes.
we're incredibly supportive. Like my mum and dad were of us, of whatever path you
Yes.
choose. But yes, I'm sure at some point, without a doubt, the next generation are very keen and involved in the business, which we love. And there are younger ones that are still not even old enough to be in it yet. So
Yes, yeah.
they're still coming.
I think it's lovely, having a business, or even myself, I've had three children. I've had different businesses over, the last 3 decades. And, some of them have wanted to be involved and others haven't. And it reminded me, quite funny, last night I looked at Facebook and there was this hysterical meme, and it had, this is what you think the daughter of, of a business is, and she's only like an 8-year-old. I don't know whether you've seen it. She comes in and she goes up to the till, and, she takes cash out of the till, and she's, the staff are, applauding her and all that. But the reality was, she's scrubbing the dishes. She's out the front cleaning. She's not getting paid. It reminds me, at one stage we had a restaurant or a cafe, and my little one, she was only 5 at the time, and she was the best employee for folding up all the towels and things, because I only had to give her an ice cream once a day, and that was her pay. But when I saw this meme, I thought, a lot of people want to be in this family business, and then others go, we want something different. And I think, what you've shared today, Danielle, is that your family have always been encouraging, but have always allowed you to go off as you have too, because we've got to have those outside experiences as well, don't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To what it's like. My dogs are currently being buzzed by magpies. So that is what the background noise is, everybody. We're in the middle of magpie season here, and they are just going off. So apologies for that. Where do you see the future before we wrap up? Where do you see the future of hospitality?
Oh, look, I think it's exciting. I think hospitality is one of those industries that are incredibly innovative and pivot and move and change and constantly evolving. So I think our food and beverage offers within the hotel excites me. The experimenting with lots of different offers and we've got menu with us at Red Line. Like the celebrity chefs are interested in pubs and what we can do together. So I get really excited about that, because that's the fun part. It's a beautiful growth industry. So that side, I guess, I spoke about it earlier, but the exciting piece of people seeing hospitality as a career, not just a transitional job, is great, and that I love seeing hospitality is such a great business to be a part of. So I love seeing the youth coming in, and I'm excited about what that brings, because that just brings, again, another level of thinking that as we get older, we need the younger ones coming through. And I think the other piece of hospitality that is, you'll see it nationally, we're just dipping our toe in it, but is this event and festival space. Like some of these pubs are running full festivals and events, and that's super exciting, because it's entertainment and it's supporting the entertainment industry within our venue and bringing more people into our venue. But at the locker room, for example, we have out at Sydney Olympic Park, we expand into the park on major events, and
Right.
we literally put out, we have all our food offerings, and we create a great atmosphere for people to
Yes.
come prior to, like British Lions, prior to the event, come and have a whole experience within there and create that event. So it's not
Yes.
about just people coming to us for their birthdays or their weddings. We're actually creating the reason for people to come and enjoy their time
Mm.
in doing that. So I think, the industry as a whole is a very exciting one,
Yes.
and I'm really positive about the future of it.
Yeah, I think it's got so much more to give, and it will always be there. Hospitality will never go away, and it's going to shape the futures of many more generations to come as they grow up in the industry and they go out and work in the industry, and as well as developing our customers. It's going to be really interesting to see over the next even a handful of years about how many things will change, as we've seen in the last 5 years, how much, particularly as you were saying with pubs, have developed over this short period of time to what they were in the past. So my final question is about bringing community together, because community, as we know, in every town there has always been a hotel, and in every country town there is always that hotel. And I've had some beautiful, her name just escapes me for the moment, who opens up the Ningen Hotel. She was on the panel with you. I had her
Yes.
a few weeks ago, and what she brought, just bringing this hotel to life, which is, this country area. Hotels are really a basis for our community, where they gather to have fun, for sadness, whether, we're going through some horrific temperatures here at the moment, for fires and floods. We're always there. And that community is always being that heart of what the Laundy brand represents. How do you build genuine community connection across your venues, Danielle? And what advice would you give to other hospitality leaders trying to do the same? Because we're seeing it more and more often now, that hospitality is seeing it's more than just the smaller community, it's what they're doing outside that's they're being recognized for as well.
I think first and foremost is listening to what it is that your customers are wanting or needing or looking for in everything you do. So you need to do that, I guess, through your staff. So we are, I wouldn't give anyone advice, but what we do definitely is encourage our staff to listen and learn and see opportunities on how we can connect more and more with the community. What
Yes.
sponsorships are available? Who's coming in and needs a hand? Do we need to do a fundraising night for someone in the area that's doing it tough? How do we actually really listen to what's happening in that community? And then how can we help? Is probably our best way of connecting. We've got, the Oxford at Drummoyne do a Halloween night. We
Mm.
are key to that. How do we help them? Oh,
Yes.
they are constantly coming to us, say, can you help us with this? Yes, we can.
Mm.
It's about ensuring that you're not selfish enough to think that you're just the pub that they come to, but
Yes.
you
Yes.
are actually a part of the community. So how do you contribute to that?
Mm.
And I think as we get bigger and bigger, that is what we don't want to lose out of
Yes.
our traditional heritage.
Mm.
And that is about staying connected with your customer and
Yes.
understanding what it is that that community is looking for, and how do we then play our role in doing that.
Yeah. Do you also feel, as I'm sorry, as another final question, that you are finding that your individuals and now your staff are coming to you because they're aware of what you're doing with community as well?
I think so, definitely. I honestly, you go into each of our pubs,
Mm.
and so many of them will be the child of a parent that it
Yeah.
comes to the pub, that
Mm.
is working behind the bar, and family interaction in that way. I think that the younger generation coming through absolutely love being a part of that community.
Yes. Yes.
And so I do think that it's quite appealing to come and work in the local pub, because you are so integrated in the community.
Yes, yeah, which is wonderful. Daniel, I think we could talk all day. I have loved you, sharing and being really open about your own personal experience, sharing your family's values, and I wish you all the very best. We're coming up to Christmas now in a few weeks' time, and it is a crazy time here in Sydney, and definitely the Watsons Bay pub, as well as the Log Cabin and all the others that you own, will be very, very busy. And it takes more than just one. It takes a team to build a beautiful business, which you have done, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much. It's been a really lovely conversation.